Hey everybody, this is Gaynor Meilke, and this is the Conscious Success Plan where we're upskilling for life, which stands for love, identity, family, and enterprise. That's the model that we use. And depending on where you are in your life, is where you can start to uh, make some plans and hopefully become more conscious in different areas that will benefit both you and the people and world around you. And that's what we do at the Conscious Success Plan. Today, I wanted to talk about a concept that I actually started researching and came into contact with the term itself, which I had not heard in all of the years I've done self-development and coaching. Um, is the idea of relational focus. And I think this cuts across every aspect of life, especially now. I've been spending a lot of time um, working in different communities. We've got Divorced Girls Smiling. I work in tax and accounting and business communities, and then also the legal community as well. And when I think about relational focus, it's really relevant um, in every moment of every day. So when you think about what it means, which is basically where your focus is when you're in a relationship with somebody. And I think I'm kind of extrapolating it from the actual present moment when you're interacting with somebody into kind of the ecosystem of relationships that you have and the relationship that you have with yourself as well is where is your focus at that time? And a simple example on a very granular level is many people in our current culture are hooked on their phones or devices, and this has made it very hard for them to keep focused when they're not interacting on a digital device, or some people may get distracted very easily. But one way that you can avoid the pitfalls of not seeming present in relationships is to really think about this concept of relational focus. So in the short term, can be if you're having a discussion with somebody in your family and you want to zone out or look away, focus on somebody else or something else, that's really telling the other person in your vicinity that who you're having a discussion with that you're not interested. And while this may sound like a no-brainer, if that happens over time, it really can erode the quality of the relationship. And it also shows that you're very disengaged. So even when you think about your own relational focus with yourself, are you focused on what you're doing moment by moment to be conscious? Are you focused on things that will make you a better person? Or are you zoning out and losing focus on what's important to you? At work, we can think about relational focus in a few different ways. So when it comes to being an employee or managing employees, being focused on your responsibilities and putting your best foot forward is your relationship to the organization. But when it comes to interpersonal relationships, it's also where are you putting the focus? Are you putting the focus on the positives or just the negatives? Of course, we need feedback, but are you only focused on negatives? Are you focused on innovation and growth in the organization, or are you relationally just focused on keeping the status quo and limiting the opportunities of people? Another concept of relational focus when it comes to entrepreneurship is customers. So, of course, this applies to other businesses as well, but as a entrepreneur or somebody who wants to start a business, you need to have a relational focus on the people who are going to buy your product. That's something that we see a lot is that business owners are focused on their needs as opposed to what the market needs. And so you need to shift your focus and have a relationship between the organization and the people who need the product. And so this is very much a shift for a lot of businesses where they're focused on what the business does as opposed to who the business serves and what the benefits are. So it's a simple shift, but it's surprisingly hard for so many people. When we think about the family and what's a relational focus, technology and kids is such a hot topic today because of a few things. One, it's teaching children's brains from a very early age to be basically in an addiction loop. And they're going to have trouble relating to people because of the things that I've just talked about in terms of being distracted and not focused on the person in front of them because they're always looking at their phone. But very in the moment and immediate concern is that the parents' relational focus between their children and themselves is being hijacked by technology. So when you think about relational focus and when your kids are present or your spouse is present and you're busy doing something else, you're basically saying that the relationship's not important unless we stop and have that relationally focused moment and say, I need to take care of something. Is it okay if I take 5 minutes and do that or however long you need? But when we're kind of checked out and we don't respond to our children, the disconnection starts to happen. It may not be like one day of scrolling on your phone when you know they want to play with you, or sort of being there but not there. But over time, it shows them that they're not important, that their needs don't matter. So this is just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to relational focus, and I'm going to dive into it deeper in, especially in the conscious parenting classes that I do, just because of the urgent need to change the behavior patterns that we're seeing and the impact on children of all of this technology. Of course, there's plenty of other ways that we disconnect from people or we focus on our own needs rather than somebody else's. But I think this concept of relational focus, both in the immediate sense and over the long term, is a really important one to become conscious of so that you can upskill and be better at uh, being focused in the right ways and bringing a different quality to your relationships in all areas of your life, starting with the relationship that you have with yourself. Hey everybody, this is Gaynor Meilke with the Red Divorce, and Red Divorce stands for redefine, elevate, and design. And this is a framework that we're using to make the best that we can out of a divorce situation. So whether you're contemplating it, whether you're in one, or whether you're trying to get out past it, these resources that I'm putting here on YouTube and other places are really designed to help. And this topic that I'm going to talk about today was one that I mentioned to somebody, and they said they didn't like it. And I said, well, I think that it's an important one to think about. And this is a concept that marriage can be very much thought of like Santa Claus and the idea that we give to children and sometimes young adults about marriage is very aligned with the stories that we tell kids about Santa Claus, if you believe in that. I had a friend quite a few years ago who, we were a Santa Claus house, and my daughter got letters from Santa. I was raised with Santa, and he came every year, and I got a big sack of gifts, and it was very exciting. And, you know, we all know the legend of Santa is that he's very caring and generous, and he works all year to bring the kids toys, and you've got to be good and Santa will come. Well, don't we sort of say that, especially to girls about marriage, is that, we build it up into this wonderful, exciting day, basically, of a wedding, and that it's going to be wonderful. Nobody talks about the fact that 50% of marriages or more end in divorce, and how difficult it can be, if you don't choose the right person. And of course, how do you know? You really don't know, because people change and they grow. And, also, like, some people also get excited about being married. And then when it becomes real, you realize like the veneers and blinders are off. So I didn't say that, marriage is like Santa Claus, that we shouldn't believe in it. I just believe that after having gone through, a long-term marriage and a divorce, that, you know, there should be really more marriage education about what it's about. And that's why I am a certified marriage educator through the Marriage Foundation Institute that was founded by Paul Friedman. He's a former divorce mediator, and he wanted to work on the other side and try to help people stay together. Unfortunately, human nature doesn't always allow for that, or, I guess it does allow for it, but it may not be in the best interest of everybody, and people can choose whether they want to explore different options. I just think that it's a concept that once you've been through divorce, you can kind of see, if you take the time to reflect, that there were things that you didn't know about marriage, and now is a time to really reflect on that and grow from the experience. And that's what we do with the Red Divorce program. Not here to say whether you should get divorced or get married, but more to help you, if you are contemplating divorce or going through it, or have gone through it already, reinvent yourself and elevate where you are and design a better way to go forward. So if you do choose to be in another relationship, you're going to have, if you have kids, you're going to have a relationship with them, hopefully, as well. And we want that to be as positive as possible. And I think that um, divorce, although it's sad and not, what anybody would hope for if they get married, once you're there, you have to think about how you're going to take the opportunity to design something different so that you do have the life you want. And that's something that in marriage education, which there is none, unless you're in a church, but at school, there's nothing like that. And parents, rarely sit down and do a series of classes. If you would like marriage education, you can contact me on our website. But it really is um, the idea that you need to know going into a relationship what you want. And if you have divorce on your mind, then obviously there's something that you didn't know when you got married about what you want, or the other person didn't. And so, we talk about a lot about people who choose divorce, but for those who didn't choose it, it's can be super difficult to understand, like, where did you go wrong? And that's where did things go wrong? And it's never just one person or the other person. There's always two people in the relationship. And what fallacies or illusions were we living with, or did we step into in order to decide that we were going to be in this marriage relationship? So, getting back to our idea of marriage can be very much like the idea of Santa Claus. I think it's becoming very real about what you want if you choose to be married and what that actually looks like for you, so that if you are getting divorced or you're thinking about getting divorced, you can line up within yourself what it is that you need that you're not able to access or will ever be able to access in your current relationship that you need to be divorced from the other person in. So that's all I wanted to say about how marriage is sometimes like Santa Claus. And I would say, our culture in the Western world idealizes marriage, especially for girls, when oftentimes it's not always the best choice, or people enter into it not educated enough. So whether you agree or disagree with the idea of the marriage concept being like Santa, I'd love to hear from you in the comments below. And until next time, whether you are, contemplating or on or in your divorce journey or getting through it, feel free to contact me and you can learn more about the Red Divorce Program and how we help you step through each phase of divorce and make the best of it and use it as an opportunity to really have the life that you want.